Welcome to the first episode of Series 64, everybody. This series, we are covering a really fun game called Flabbergasted with the designers themselves, Fleur and Chelsea Sciortino, from all the way over in Malta. We're really excited for this game, and this series delivers. But before we get to all of that, here's what to expect in today's call to action.
After the episode, you can join us for our usual thoughts on this recording, as well as our normal announcements for our Patreon and other podcast ending goodies, including thanking all of our active patrons.
Until then, enjoy the show, everyone. Welcome to Character Creation Cast, a show where we discuss and create characters, the best part of role-playing games, with guests using their favorite systems. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan, and this episode, my co-host Amelia and I are excited to welcome Fleur and Chelsea Sciortino, designers of the game that we're going to be covering in this series, Flabbergasted, a comedic tabletop role-playing game set in the Roaring 20s.
Welcome to Character Creation Cast. I'm really excited we get to do this game. It comes highly recommended by several friends. I'm here for it. I'm really excited.
I'm really excited to get started with this podcast. I really like the format and the setup of this. Looking forward to seeing all the characters.
Yes, me too.
The best parts.
Yes. Can you tell us who you are, your pronouns, what sorts of things you do, all of that?
Sure. I'm Fleur. I use she, her. And I am one of the co-creators of the Wanderer's Tome, which I run with my sister. And I mostly tackle the visual design aspect of our games. I'm an illustrator and a graphic designer by profession and trade. And I still do that on a freelance basis, aside from working on our own games. And I'm really into gaming of all sorts, from tabletop gaming to video gaming and to board games as well.
Very cool.
Games are good.
And I'm Chelsea. I'm Chelsea, the other sister. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm one of the co-creators of Wanderer's Tome, and I love the writing, editing, marketing, and whatever else needs doing. Game design, whatever. By trade, I used to be an architect, and I completely gave that up to do tabletop roleplay design.
That's the dream.
Which is awesome. It is the dream.
And I am the older sister.
That's an important fact.
Anyone is curious.
That is an important fact.
We're only a year and a half between our ages, though. Okay. So we're quite close.
My brother and I are about a year and a half apart, too. So
very nice. Well, let's go ahead and get into this, and we're going to start by discussing what this game is all about.
What's in a game?
All right. So what is the core concept of Flabbergasted?
So the core idea behind Flabbergasted, right, started off from our early days in playing tabletop role-playing games, especially games like Dungeons and Dragons and high fantasy settings. And we always loved the parts of those games where we're like, we have to infiltrate a ball, we have to come up with disguises and come up with funny aliases, and we need to infiltrate and seduce and manipulate and and where everything starts going wrong in these scenarios. And we're like, how do we make a game that captures that moment and just that without any of the extra faff of 4-hour-long battles or epic world-saving like exploration and stories. We're like, how do we capture the chaos?
Yes.
And that's like our core concept behind Flabbergasted.
I love it. If a game doesn't have a good like fashion montage while you're trying to like pick the perfect disguise, then why are you even playing? Honestly.
Right? So I both love and used to dread the scenarios in when we would play like whatever, like Dungeons and Dragons, and we're like, okay, we need to prepare for an event. We're like, okay, here comes a 3-hour shopping montage.
Right? That's really the only important part of the game. Like, I don't know why people have swords. What are you planning on doing with that? Can you tell us a little bit about the setting of this game?
Yeah, so to follow up on what Fleur said, so the setting is in the 1920s, but an alternate version of the 1920s, because we don't have things like racism, prejudice. It doesn't exist here in Flabbergasted. So like the ideal 1920s. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to play
we use the aesthetics, not the ideals.
Yes.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes, important. And we wanted to play on, this idea of having all these hijinks and misadventures in the 1920s. We were greatly influenced by the Jeeves and Wooster series. That's one of our main inspirations and gave us the initial spark for this game, Flabbergasted. And we were inspired by by British madcap comedies like Blackadder, Fawlty Towers. These are the kind of shows we really, really love. We wanted to capture the idea of having a kind of bumbling aristocrat and then a very intelligent staff member behind him pulling all the strings and doing everything. It just seemed like a very funny concept, and we couldn't find another game that had that concept, that had that theme. So we're like, we can do it, right? We can do it. We have the skills, and we started designing it. We were still doing other jobs at the time. And as soon as it's funded, we kind of went into it full time.
I love it.
And that's Flabbergasted.
I have not thought about Fawlty Towers in a long time, but like I love that show so much. So much. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that again. Like, dear listeners, if you have not watched Fawlty Towers, like, please go find it. It's amazing.
Well, what sort of tools do we need to play this game then?
You need a group of friends. We actually have that listed down, like, what do you need to play this game on our first page. Like, okay, you need 3 to 4 friends. And other than that, you just need a pool of D6s, about I believe 8 to each player. Download the character sheets. Pen and pencil, and that's about it.
Okay.
You also need some sort of coin as well. Yeah, just any coin that you have.
All right.
Okay.
That's it.
Very cool.
I've got all those things.
Yep.
Friends. Do I have any?
Oh, man, that was the one I was missing. Friends.
No.
Maybe we should replace friends with dedicated group ready to meet up every week.
Yeah, it's the ready to meet up part that's really the hard part. Scheduling? I don't know about that. So we've talked a little bit about it, but are there particular kinds of stories or themes that you want people to use this game to explore, or that you were looking to explore with a game like this? Because I know you said that you kind of looked around for something and there wasn't really anything like that.
So our game we wanted a game that was very improv heavy and gives people the tools to improv comedic scenarios. But otherwise is very light on mechanics and pretty easy. One of the concepts that we introduce in our game, and this is what we want people to explore, is this improv concept that this improv concept of failing forward. So we don't want people to feel like if they're failing in a scenario, that's a bad thing, or they should feel bad about it. It's encouraged. We want that to happen. We want you to fail. The story keeps moving. We want to encourage people to have these hijinks and wacky adventures, and we feel like we've captured that with our setting. Otherwise, we wanted to also explore, like I mentioned earlier, the different having sort of different classes, but having an aristocrat and a staff member going on an adventure together seemed really funny to us. Nothing that we could really find. We couldn't find another game like it. And another core mechanic in our game, well, part of our setting, is that every group of players has a social club. So they all form part of a club. There's a reason for them all to band together and go on adventures together. And a social club can be anything from a dining club to a tea club. We've had, I don't know, private investigative club or
fun.
Whatever you can think of.
I love it.
It's not like the social clubs in history of like middle-aged men drinking whiskey and smoking cigars. Like, it can be anything you want.
You can have a drinking and cigar club if you want. Sounds like a chill time.
And again, that's something else we didn't find in another game. So I think that's going to present a lot of fun scenarios for people.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And the kind of stories that we want to be told using Flabbergasted are mostly like low stakes interpersonal stories and being able to explore any funny idea you have in your head without thinking too much about the consequences. Like, am I going to lose my character if I do this?
Very cool. So what do once we get the social clubs and once we kind of figure out we know that we're going to be playing a comedic game, what do characters then do kind of more specifically in this game then?
So the characters, the way we structure our a campaign of Flabbergasted is based on the characters. So every character has a dilemma, and their social club that they form part of has a big trouble as well. These are the terms that we use. So throughout the whole campaign, your characters are going to be trying to overcome their dilemmas, help out their other club members, work together to bring up the reputation of their club, make it grow, tell stories together in this club, and also see their club through its big trouble by the end.
Oh, very interesting.
I'm so excited for this.
Another thing when it comes to social clubs, that every social club also has a rival club, someone who your club just detests or is like the complete opposite of your club, or is another like dancing club and you just hate their guts. And that also presents other scenarios for different sessions, because your rival club can issue a public challenge that says, hey, who's first person to get this very famous person to take a photograph with your club is gonna win lots of renown and is gonna be the better club. That can be a session, for example.
Petty squabbles are at the heart of this game as
well.
Oh my gosh, I'm so
And so really it's going to be a lot of sessions that might feel a bit like one shots, in the sense that one episode might be about one character's dilemma, the next might be about someone else's, the next might be a public challenge based on your rival club. But then throughout a whole campaign, you're all the director, who is which is the name for the game master in our game, will come up with a story to tie up the big trouble towards the end. The big trouble is like this big trouble that your club is going through.
Yeah.
Maybe you have really rowdy neighbors that you hate, or you're going to be evicted, or I don't know, something like that. It can be as simple as that, or more sinister if you'd like, whatever you want.
It feels very much kind of like a season of a sitcom, like kind of where every episode's kind of its own topic, but like over the whole season, you see the character growth and you see like moving towards an overarching sort of goal, which is really fascinating.
Exactly, that was always our aim. We're basing it off of a sitcom, and unlike with other types of role playing games where someone has a story that then you just navigate through, the story is built by your characters and the choices you make while playing.
Oh, good.
In fact, we use a lot of television terminology throughout the book. So even when we talk about a season, which is a campaign, a season structure, we talk about, you have sessions, you have episodes. So episodes is like one story.
Yeah.
So like, let's say
One
you're
arc.
one arc, you're tackling a public challenge in this story, which can take the form of one session or multiple sessions, depending on how chatty your friends are.
Mhm.
And then all the episodes form part of a season. So you're bang on. You got it. It's a kind of the feeling of a sitcom.
That's awesome.
What do you feel like is the most unique thing about this game? Like, obviously, there's a lot of things that are different from most role-playing games, but what do you think is like the most unique, special thing about this game to you?
I would say the fact that the campaign by the director is built by using building blocks in people's character sheets. I think that's quite a unique aspect to our game. I also think that the abilities that you find on the character sheets that we call scene cues are a pretty different concept to just having simple like combat abilities or dice rolls for ability checks. Instead, these are narrative abilities that let you influence the scene, influence the world and the city that this game is taking place in, and they really encourage players to think outside the box, bring forth their improv skills, and not just have to rely on like, oh, let me just do a simple strength roll. They're like, okay, let's try and be creative using these abilities. I think those are pretty unique aspects to Flabbergasted.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
I think the fact that we managed to create a game that helps people improvise and create stories like what Fleur's saying with scene cues is pretty unique. Like even someone who's a bit scared of improv, we found that we've done one shots with strangers, and we found that they can let loose and come up with wacky situations because of these scene cues.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I think having some direction there really does help people who are not sure about improv, and I really like the idea that like the mechanics kind of show you how to go, like they're kind of a little bit of a railway to figure out how to do that. That's really nice, because it could be a lot sometimes to just be like,
a lot
I
of
don't
games
know,
out there are just like, oh, here you go, improv, do what you're supposed to do, and then they don't tell you how to do that. So it's like, well, how am I supposed to improv now? Because you've given me no direction. You just like said, I'm a new player. I've never played RPGs before. This feels weird. Now I'm kind of like apprehensive about the hobby, but like having that nice stepping stone feels pretty amazing.
Well, I know I've said lots of times too that like it is daunting sometimes to sit down and have somebody be like, you can do anything. And you're like, okay. Can you give me some choices? Can you like some options? That's too much. It's too much.
Exactly. Well, this is the part before we get into character creation. We do like to cover the history of the game. Normally I do a deep dive into Wikipedia to find all this information, but we've got the designers right here. So I can ask you directly, when did you actually start designing Flabbergasted?
Well, first, just reminding me that, like, should we get a Wikipedia page? I don't think we have one.
No, we don't have one.
Should we make one? I think we
might as well.
We'll look into it for next week. So we started working on Flabbergasted. Was it in 2020?
I think
Was it
early 2021.
2021.
Well, that was pretty fast then.
Okay, so we started early 2021. So before this, the only games we had ever created together were murder mystery games. Actually, we used to create games for our friends, and we put a lot of effort into them. And we're like, why don't we just package these up and start selling them? So that's how we started. And then shortly after, we had this idea for Flabbergasted, thinking that this would be a really, really good tabletop role-playing game. We were both in different careers at the time, but we thought between the two of us, we have the skills to make this game. So let's try in our free time. Let's try start developing this game. In April 2021, we actually applied for an arts fund in Malta where we're based, and we got it, which was really, really, really helpful. And that basically funded, art assets that we need, editing. We got a video done with that money for the Kickstarter page, which was really, really helpful because we didn't have any money to really put into this game before Kickstarter. So that's really helped us, and also then we definitely had to finish this game because we got a fund for it. If we didn't finish it, we'd have to give the money back. So we definitely had to. And then October 2021, we kickstarted the game with a quick start guide, and that did really well. It funded, and we finished it end of 2022. I think that's when we published the PDF. So that's the history of how we came about to actually making our first game.
Very cool. That was a pretty fast development cycle because you went right from early 2021 to October doing the Kickstarter, which successfully funded in October of 2021. And then you became Annie nominated in 2023 for 3 categories: Best Interior, Best Game, and Product of the Year, which is fantastic. So congratulations.
It still feels
surreal.
It still feels surreal. Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, it's literally every game designer's dream. You're like, oh, the aim is to one day win an Emmy, or at least be nominated for an Emmy. And for this to happen for us with our first game,
that's really exciting.
I got the email and I literally I started tearing up because I'm like, I can't believe this. It's very validating.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, because there's so many submissions. There are, I mean, and of course, like, we can only pick 5. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things too. So like the stuff that does get picked, like that's like
it's the top of the top.
We were in good company.
God. I'm getting chilly.
Yeah, like it's a big deal to be one of the 5 that gets selected in a category. Like that's out of 400 plus things. Like,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
No, it's
so cool.
It's really validating and amazing how well received it has been. Like, it validates the big risk we took in going into this full time with our first game, with not we have a very small following, and for it to have done so well, like we have, we don't have a huge audience, but they're very supportive, really passionate, really into this game, passionate, and it's
right. And now you don't have to give back that money.
Right. Yes.
No.
No, I think
we finished it.
We've done a lot with that money now.
I think it highlights the fact too, though, that there really isn't something like this out there. That like you are not wrong. That this is kind of a niche that has gone unfilled too. Oh, I'm really excited about this. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
I'm very excited. I'm very looking forward to walking through the character sheets because the abilities are really, really fun and just on their own, they're entertaining.
Yeah. Before we dive in to do that, are there any like terms or concepts that you think people need to know to be able to follow along?
Chelsea already mentioned things like the season breakdown, so season, episode, session. That's pretty self-explanatory. Other important terms, scene cues. So scene cues are these narrative abilities.
And anything that isn't covered by a scene cue that should be challenging, if the director decides that it should be challenging, is going to be covered by character traits, which is just your typical dice pool system. We have 4 character traits, and we'll get into, I guess, when we're going to the character sheet more on how they work. Another concept that you're going to find on the character sheet is this thing called a lucky coin, which we mentioned earlier. You're going to need a coin. This is going to come into play when you're actually, playing multiple sessions probably. But basically, it's just a small mechanic that can encourage active participation and roleplay. So the director might decide that you're role-playing really phenomenally this session and give you a coin. And what this coin does is that if you fail a character trait roll, you'll just flip it, call heads or tails, and if you're correct, you automatically succeed.
Oh,
It's
cool.
just a little nice,
Okay.
nice little thing
little
to
bonus.
encourage people.
Mhm.
Yeah, encourage people to be funny and be a good role player.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that we have on our character sheet at the bottom of our character sheet is a scandal and dignity tracker. So this, when you're playing in the world of Peccadillo, which is the city that we have in Flabbergasted, your actions are going to be noticed by other people.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing, you're going through these misadventures with your group. You're probably going to be either slightly scandalous, you might sabotage your rival club, or maybe you're very dignified. I don't know. It's up to you. If you're an aristocrat, maybe you're very, very dignified. I don't know. And people are going to take notice. So what this tracker does is that the director is going to take note of your actions, and at the end of every session is going to mark scandal or dignity, and this will affect roleplay throughout the season. So if you're very, very scandalous and you try and talk to the queen, she's not going to pay attention to you. Or if you're very, very dignified and you talk to a mobster or something, they're not going to talk to you. Yeah, it's another roleplay mechanic that we have in our game. I just wanted to point that out. Otherwise, I think it's very, very
self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very simple sheet that you can create a character very quickly. Okay, I think that's everything.
Should we do it? Should we make some characters?
I would
we should.
love to make
I
some
would
people.
love to make some characters.
All right. Let's make some people.
Let's make some people.
Let's make some people.
Where do we start?
So the very first step is to pick one of the 4 archetypes that we have available in the game.
Mhm.
This is going to determine which character sheet you are using. And the 4 archetypes are the aristocrat, it's pretty self-explanatory, the staff, which usually covers household staff members or other like jobbers in a city,
Mhm.
the bohemian, who is the tortured artist, and the well-to-do, which is a working professional who might come from some privileged background, but they have like a high position in society with a profession, like they're a doctor or a lawyer, something like that. So first, we need to pick one of these archetypes.
Yeah. And in a game, you can have any number of different archetypes. There's no requirement to have
one of each.
You can all be aristocrats if you want.
Very
It
nice.
doesn't matter.
Oh gosh.
But we do recommend switching it up.
Like, it's very fun to have a staff member who's also the staff of someone else in the group. That's always a fun dynamic.
So it looks like each character has a different primary trait. There's 4 different traits, it looks like. So, like, for instance, the aristocrat has the primary trait of culture and etiquette. So it looks like they get a bonus. There's also bravado and persuasion, wit and sharp, and creativity and passion. Feels fairly self-explanatory what these do.
Pretty much. We have descriptions for all of these, but we have bravado and persuasion, which is a show of strength, both as physical strength, but also strength of character and the ability to convince people that what you are saying is correct. Culture and etiquette is the ability to pull references from your knowledge about like trending topics or know how to behave with a certain class of people. Wit and sharp, which is how astute you are and how you can notice small details, as well as be quick on your feet to think. And then creativity and passion is, how creative you are, but also can you do things in a very convincing manner with passion and sell someone on what you're doing.
Yeah, or like a creative solution to a problem.
Yeah.
And something we point out in the book with the character traits is that you most likely, in most scenarios, if you can convince the director that one of these traits fits, then it works.
That's always one of my favorite mechanics in games is if you can justify it, then you can do it. My brother runs games and his wife is notorious for that she will find any excuse to use her highest stat and the way
Yeah,
that she
why not?
like twists the scenario to be like, well, actually, it's so funny. It's so funny. And so I love when games let you do that. And you're like, as long as you
Yeah.
can justify it. And then people have to come up with these very creative ways of justifying what they're doing. It's so good. It's so funny.
All right, so let's pick. Does anybody have anything in mind for what they want to make?
I would like to do the well-to-do.
Ooh,
I think that sounds fun to me.
I was kind of leaning towards the staff.
Shocking no one.
I well, I'm the kind of player that will pick last because I'd rather. But if you're not, do you want to pick, Chell?
I mean, one of my favorites is the aristocrat. So
I'll
I
go
guess
for it.
from those two, yeah, I'll probably go for
And
an
look,
aristocrat.
Being an
Let me
artist
open
myself,
that.
I'll go for the bohemian.
Okay.
We can cover one of each.
Let's get that out.
Amazing. So we've got our character types. What is the next step?
So let me open. So in the book, here are the exact. It's very easy how it's laid out. There are the steps you have to go through. So first you pick your archetype. Next you name your protagonist. Protagonist is the word we use for your character. And you note down their age. You also pick a profession or a title. So like the staff is going to have a well-to-do is going to have a profession, whereas the aristocrat has a title and an estate name. Then you pick you note down your relationship status. It just creates more role play. There's on the bottom right a section for description. That's going to be your physical description. Right next to it is a section for mementos. These are just items that your character starts with. It can be anything you want. Something that maybe your character has never seen without. These are more just, again, for role play. So maybe your character has never seen without a ring of it's an aristocrat and has a ring with their family's insignia or something. Next. Then the next, we'll have to pick a flaw. I'll give you guys, we have a list of 20 flaws to pick from. Again, it's just developing your character more. Having a flaw is fun and gives the director an opportunity to play on that.
I love the flaw list. They're really funny.
Then the next step is to create your dilemma. So everyone needs to have a problem. No one is perfect. Maybe, I don't know, you have a jilted lover who's out to get you, or...
This is what we call the raison d'etre of the character, you know, what is plaguing them throughout their whole, throughout their life right now.
Then you have your character's background, where they came from and why they are who they are.
Okay.
Next, you pick, on the back of the sheet, there are the scene cues, and you pick your starting scene cues. We start with 4, but then we'll get to that later. You assign the character traits. Basically, everyone starts with 1 box ticked in every character trait. And depending on your archetype, you have a primary trait that has the second box ticked. But then you also assign extra character traits.
There's 5 extra that we assign.
Okay.
And you can distribute them anyway until, although you can't have more than 4 pips marked off at the start.
Okay.
And how these boxes work with regards to character traits is that every box ticked is a d6 that you roll for that character trait.
Okay.
And a 5 and a 6 is a success. That's
Pretty
it.
straightforward.
Pretty simple.
Yeah. And the last thing is we dole out the readies, which is the currency in this game. It's from an old-fashioned term that used to be called ready money, which is money that you had cash on hand and not money in the bank. And I really liked that little reference. It's called, now we call it readies. And then that's the only that closes off the character sheet.
Okay.
Yeah.
12 steps.
Because the rest of the sheet are things that will come into play during the game.
Later.
You don't have to, you don't have to fill them in now.
Okay.
So yeah, we can start with ideas for our characters, like names and backgrounds.
Names are the hardest part, of course.
We recommend very like flowery British kind of names.
Well, I'm actually going to go back to the back of our book because we have table generators for names.
We love a
Yes.
good table.
So we can, let's see. There's a table for a title, so I'll go with I'm Countess.
Ooh,
The Countess.
name generators. Here we go.
Let me write that.
Page 77, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
We also have samples of things like backgrounds and dilemmas within the book as well, if you need some inspiration.
I don't know. I'm looking at this list, though, and I'm just really digging the name Edith Weatherwax. I think that just feels correct.
And you're playing well-to-do, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like old money.
I know I wrote too big. Okay. I'm gonna pick a profession. I want something to do with shoes.
Something they would choose.
I just want to sell shoes. I don't want to make the shoes. I just want to sell the shoes.
Well, she could be an heiress to a shoe empire.
Yes. I'm gonna put shoe heiress.
What a
All right,
title.
I'm going with Margot Carlyle.
Ooh, beautiful.
Is a personal book organizer
Oh.
for the wealthy.
This sounds like a modern day person who comes in just to organize your pantry and your wardrobe.
Yeah, like
Yes,
home
but
edit.
only specifically for gigantic, aristocratic libraries.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stuff that here's my library room. I don't know any of these books.
Yeah, the kind that has one of those ladders from Beauty and the Beast.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. Only that
it's
kind
usually
of
just for
library.
show, but I'm there to organize them and then also to move them around between the big meetings. So that way it looks like he's constantly getting different books and
And making sure to pick the most erudite of book titles to seem
Yep.
very
yes,
smart.
yeah, very ostentatious.
Mm-hmm.
Got to keep up appearances.
I love
Mhm.
it.
What's the best way to organize books? Is it by author, by genre, by title?
By color. Some people love to do it
Sometimes
by
it's
color.
by color,
Yeah.
sometimes it's by mood.
Mm.
Well, they can be the personal book organizer for my aristocrat,
Mhm.
Countess
Ooh.
Winifred Basilweather, because that sounds quite
Oh my gosh, I love
sounds
it.
quite bougie. And I want her to be. I don't know what's up with me and playing elderly aristocrats, but it's all I do in our games. But
Mhm.
I want her to be a bit elderly, in her 60s,
All right.
and she is single and ready to date.
Oh my
Still.
gosh, I love it. I love it.
She hasn't found anyone worthy of her title and her wealth.
Well, she needs to make sure that they're not just after her money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or after her enormous book collection that
Right.
she has an organizer for.
Look, I would marry someone for less, okay?
This is actually very talking about we love playing old lady characters. We actually had a note from our editor after our last draft of the book, where she said, you can add more diversity because you seem to have a lot of elderly white women with dogs in your book.
I can't help it.
It's
think-
such a stereotype. I love it.
I think it's Downton
Okay, some of
Abbey.
them can have cats. We
Yes.
can. Sure, I guess.
Yeah.
Look, we gave this one a ferret.
Mhm.
We actually did that. You mentioned ferret, and we did to add variety from just having cats and dogs everywhere in our book. We're like, let's add a ferret randomly.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
you're
Nailed it.
yeah, nailed it. But I think it's Downton Abbey influence us.
We give representation to elder women, okay? Which is, I think,
Yes.
they're very underrepresented in media.
Rich
Yeah.
old women. They need our help.
It's true. You heard it here, folks.
Rich aristocratic women, we're here for you.
Oh my gosh. Now because you've said that, I need to make my person older. She was going to be 38, but now I think she's going to be 46.
Mm.
Just, not super
I think
old,
I
but
think Margot's a youngin at 23 years old.
ooh.
Yeah, She's got a lot of smarts, a lot of wit, but like she's pretty young.
Mm,
She's also single.
that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Personal book organizing is a full-time career.
Yeah.
I
It's
wrote
true.
for my character's relationship status engaged, sort of.
Oh,
Oh,
what's
it's
happening
like
there?
the Facebook. It's complicated.
Hated, yes. My character, her name is Tilly Cooper, and she's a bohemian. She is a music performer, and I have her story written out. Should I read it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a child prodigy in all manner of instrument playing. But as a lot of child prodigies go to, she realized as she got older that she wasn't actually that special, and she is now flitting through between playing for certain orchestrations, never really finding her limelight or capturing that glory she had as a younger kid. So now she has decided that what's happening is that she's too comfortable in her life. So she has sold all of her possessions. She's left her comfortable family life, and now she's living as a starving artist, trying to find inspiration to recreate her first musical composition. And that is her dilemma throughout the story. She needs to finish writing her composition and finding a salon where she can play her music for an orchestra
oh,
that will
amazing.
perform it. And she was engaged, but because she is now in this new stage of her life where she is trying to find herself, she's maybe rethinking her engagement proposition.
I love the idea that, like, she's like, maybe that's not for me, but she has not told her fiance that like, she doesn't want to. It's like her fiance's like, we're definitely engaged. We're planning a wedding. We're, she's like,
yeah, sure, baby, yeah.
It's all fluid until you say I do.
She needs to find she's hoping she'll find like this tortured artist who will, unlock something in her soul to be able to bear her inner passion and musical talent.
So I'm looking at the mementos. I did the description of she wears her hair up. Margot has glasses, and she generally wears the uniform of her profession, which I am leaving vague on purpose.
I love it.
And yet we probably all have an image in our head.
Yeah. And I wanted to just like constantly be kind of like a, what is a professional book organizer's uniform look like? I think that would be a lot of fun to play around with. But I'm wondering about the mementos. It looks like we just get to pick one thing.
Let me confirm. So you start off with one memento that represents your character.
Okay.
So
Something they've never seen without, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still figuring out the background and dilemma of my character, but with the generators I picked as a description, bushy untamed curls, old and frail, of course, and she walks with a golden cane, because why not? And her memento is her ferret that she's always seen with, because you inspired me earlier. And I need a name for her ferret. A good name. What's a good name for a ferret?
Mopsy.
Mopsy is a good one. Her ferret Mopsy. Cute.
Let's see here. What did I write down? So for background, Edith is the heiress to her family's shoe company. They started out as shoemakers, but she's only interested in the design and fashion portion. She doesn't really care how they're made or, any of that. She's just really interested in making the most fashionable and special shoes. And her dilemma is that she has maybe been committing a little bit of business fraud and like not paying taxes and things. Just trying to because she doesn't really care about that, she just wants to like make pretty things. And obviously somebody else in the family always took care of the business portion. So it just like never even occurred to her that she needed to do that until the authorities were like, you can't just not pay your taxes.
Generally we recommend the dilemma has a goal behind it as well. So I would think with something like that, maybe someone in the company found out about it and is leveraging something against her.
Yes.
So maybe she needs to do a favor for this person or find a way to get back at them, however she wants to approach it.
Yeah, I think she's definitely being blackmailed because of this.
So that one gives like the director a tangible goal that your character can work towards.
I love it. So she's doing some cool tax evasion. And getting blackmailed for it.
That's pretty high stakes.
I would love the idea if this person is like not very good at blackmailing though, and they like are asking for like really small things. Like or really like weird stuff.
Oh, that would be pretty funny. Like every episode, like little requests, and then the rest of her club members are realizing like you're collecting a lot of weird things and delivering them at weird drop-off locations.
Right. Yeah, I like the idea that it's like it's not necessarily stuff that's easy to find. It's just like these very specific requests.
Until like maybe at the end she realizes, okay, I need to do something about this and put a stop to it.
Right. Yeah, where am I supposed to find a tiny porcelain elephant painted with pink daisies on it?
Okay. So my character's memento is a bookmark, a special bookmark from her lost parents.
Oh.
She was 12 years old when her parents had gone on a mysterious business trip. And the circumstances were kind of suspect.
Oh.
And they gave her this bookmark and basically told her, hey, if anything goes wrong, this will help you find us if you can find the book that this matches.
I love it.
So she's been searching ever since, which is why she had become a personal book organizer in the first place.
Is this her dilemma as well? Trying to find her parents?
I believe it might be, yeah.
I think that's a pretty good one. Maybe now her aim is to go into like every wealthy person's personal library and see if they are somehow responsible.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty good. Very murder mystery style as well.
Yeah.
I'm finishing mine up.
Yeah, I gotta pick a flaw here too, I think.
Oh yes, a flaw.
Would you like me to read out the flaws?
Yes, please.
Yeah, please.
Because I love coming up with the names for these. You can be a ghastly gossip, a penny pincher. You can be yellow-bellied. You can be a card cheat, persnickety. I love the word persnickety.
It's such a good word.
Light-fingered, a little 5-finger discount. You can be a shopaholic. You can be a high roller, addicted to the casinos. Hot-headed, jealous, tippler. You can have a superstitious mind. You can be a drama queen. You can be gullible. You can be a party animal, a snoop, boisterous, a show-off, a shameless flirt, or foul-mouthed. And with these flaws, we just wanted, again, it's the idea of like helping people with their improv, giving you a very like easy, like almost like a stereotype that you can build up from and add to your character.
Yes, I think I've finished mine. So, Countess Winifred Basilweather from Basilweather Chateau. She is a ghastly gossip, and her memento is her ferret Mopsy. She's from a very wealthy family, well known in Peccadillo. And when she's not throwing parties, well, her staff is throwing her party, she can be found in her library, tended to by a book organizer, of course, where she'll be found reading romance novels after romance novel. I think we can all relate. And her dilemma is that she needs to find the perfect partner who's not after her wealth and estate and who will love her ferret Mopsy. But unfortunately, she's had a long string of relationships in the past, including 5 engagements that she ended, who might be looking to see her fail at meeting her match.
Oh, so she has some jilted lovers.
She has some jilted lovers. She's 65. Of course she has some. She just wants a partner. Poor Winifred.
I think Edith's memento is going to be like this really absurd pair of shoes that she designed that like you can't walk in. Like they are useless. You can't even like get them on your feet. But she is like determined to produce these. Like she's like, I want this to be the next big trend. But they are not gravitationally acceptable at all.
Is she the one to blame for towering high heels?
Yes.
Ugh.
For her relationship, I also put married ? She says she's married, but no one has ever seen a husband or like, you know, like she will sometimes give a different name for said husband depending on who she's talking to. So she wears a wedding ring and she says she's married and refers to herself as Mrs., but no one has ever seen this mysterious husband.
Amazing.
Call to action.
Yeah, like that. I'm glad we got to cover this game because it was up for some Emmy Awards last year.
It was, yeah.
And it looked so good. Like the moment I looked it up, I was like, this is the one.
Such a fun game.
It's such a fun, silly little
concept.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very chill, enjoyable. Can be like as high or low stakes as you want.
I know. And like as long of a campaign as you want to.
Yes. And yeah, it's so it's interesting because it's something that's very narrow. Like it thematically, it's like it hones in on exactly what it wants to do. But also you could do so much within that theme. Yeah. I can't wait for people to hear our characters and our society and everything. Like it's so good.
The fanfic
when you get to the
is
third
amazing.
episode. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Recording these cold
So
opens
good.
and like calls to action for episode 1 are always really hard because I know what's going to happen. And I'm like, I can't tell you yet.
We
but
guys hold back.
stay tuned.
Can say Fleur and Chelsea were absolutely delightful.
It was fantastic.
Amazing guests, such an amazing recording. Really happy to have them on and really would love to have them on again for future projects because it was such a joy.
It was so enjoyable.
This game is just
It's so
like,
great. It's so great. I like we say
So
that all the
good.
time, but like it's so good. So good. So good. It's gonna stop meaning anything at some point.
So many more words that we'll have to say for next episode because it deals with our society, which you get to in next episode.
Yeah. Oh,
So
it's good.
Gotta hold our tongues
good.
for now.
Before we let you go for the day, though, here are our calls to action.
Yeah, the AcadeCon 2023 Kickstarter should have 10 days to go as of the release of this episode. It's fully funded, but this is a great way to get discounted tickets before the end of the campaign. Also, the Courier's Call Season 3 Kickstarter has only 5 days to go, and they need about $4,500 more to wrap up all of their stretch goals. So it would be really cool to see them get there and unlock a brand new song from Arnie Parrott. So we would love to hear more of that in that feed for sure.
If you like what we're doing here on the show, there are a number of ways you can support what we're doing, including leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Podcast Addict, and Facebook. We read all of the 5-star reviews here in our calls to action to thank you personally, and we don't have any. So if you leave one today, we'll be sure to read it on the next episode. So you should do that because it makes us feel good. And it's just a nice thing to do.
It is. Another way to directly support our show is to check out our Patreon. We have multiple tiers and all of them are jam-packed with good rewards. Everyone gets access to our chit-chat episodes and bonus outtakes. The $5 tier starts access to our bonus episodes and early release episodes. And the $10 tier includes video chats with us and other patrons at that level, as well as exclusive stickers every month. So there's a lot to offer there.
In addition to all that, we thank all of our patrons personally every single episode. And, we're going to do that right now. We have such an amazing community. So I love that we get to say everyone's names every episode.
Absolutely.
Starting with Lieutenant and DJG. Thanks. We are so glad to have you with us.
Eric Bonds and Daryl Holiday II, thanks for your continued support.
Shadim Cabal and the Shyest Barbarian, you rock. Thank you.
Benjamin Sweeney and Lorcan McInnes, thank you so much.
Rob Fletcher and Kevin Brown, we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Tentacle Duck and Cole McCallum, our deepest thanks.
Thank you to John Adamus and the freaky fiery flamingos of fabulous flamboyance and fantastic fiddlers. Ryan, let me read that one because flamingos are my favorite animal.
They are. Carlos Salazar and Eric S., many thanks to you.
Ross Kingston and Ian Podmeyer, thank you so much.
Sorry Goth and Liam G., many thanks to you as well.
Thank you to Brian Colm and the Garden GM. Your support brings us so much joy.
Dark Mirror and Tom, thanks for making this all possible.
Blue Kryptonite and Danny, thank you so much.
Nicole Trainer and Liam Murray, our deepest thanks.
Satwant Kungura and Kenning, we are happy to have you with us. Thank you.
And thank you to all of our future supporters as well. Your assistance helps pay for the production of the show and really takes the weight off our shoulders every month. You'll also be joining a growing and supporting community on our Discord at discord.charactercreationcast.com and get exclusive patron-only channels there. We would love to see you.
That's all we have for today's episode. We are really glad you could join us for the start of this amazing series. You can join us next time when we finish up our characters and we start creating our social club, which is it's just so good. It's so good.
It's so good.
It's
So good.
Until then, take care, everyone. Stay safe out there. Drink some water. Spread some joy. Keep making those amazing people. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us for part 1 of this character creation series. We'll be back in part 2, picking up right where we left off.
Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can also be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at CreationCast, or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Bolter, and I can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Our other host, Amelia Antrim, can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Ginger Reckoning. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast they originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game systems used and today's guests can also be found in the show notes. If you'd like to support our show, find us on Patreon. Get access to bonus episodes, exclusive merch, and much more at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we find that the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We'll see you next time.